Welcome to Our Town, a 30-minute podcast brought to you by Best Bark Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks.
This is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town, and I'm speaking to the genius who created the greatest advertising campaign in the history of Our Town, Mr. Ted Ward from Geico. Teddy, welcome to Our Town.
Well, thank you for having me. That's the greatest advertising campaign in our town, a little green lizard.
How about that? Who would have thunk it?
It's actually scary.
Well, where'd the lizard come from? I got so much to ask you about, but let's start. You brought it up. I'll bring it up.
Okay. Phoenix, Arizona, actually Scottsdale, Arizona, after research, endless focus groups on why people kept mispronouncing the name Geico and or not knowing what a Geico was. Is back in 97-8 time frame. And literally during the focus group, some woman mispronounced and says, that company Gecko or Gecko or whatever they're called. And, that was just one of the comments, and not all of them good either, I might add, that came out of the focus groups. And afterwards, the art director from the Martin Agency, who I've worked with since 1994, said,
That'd be 32 years.
Not that I'm counting. That's 22 years.
Well,
I've been at Geico 32. That's 84. But this guy, his name's Ken.
You inherited the Martin Agency. You hired them.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
And it seems to have
You're
worked.
Responsible.
Yeah. But this art director, Ken Spiro, mentioned that, man, we ought to have like a mascot. And imagine this, having a cocktail afterwards. He didn't drink, so I was drinking for two. And he wrote a little picture of a gecko on a napkin and said, "Here it is, Gary the Gecko. Let's have that as our mascot for Geico." And that way people will not remember that we're not pronounced Gecko. Fast forward about 2 months later, I thought nothing of the idea, by the way. He presented a TV commercial that featured a gecko holding a press conference, and the concept was, "I'm a gecko, not to be confused with Geico, so stop calling me." And that was, it was a 15-second commercial, and probably would have died a cruel and hideous death, except that SAG went out on strike, and we couldn't use real people for a while. And so someone said, "Well, let's use that gecko for," and we did 3 or 4 more spots. Yeah. So the answer is no one really came up with the idea as a long-term brand play, and we totally lucked into it. Because of a SAG strike and the other critical reason.
That's the Screen Actors Guild, for
yes,
those
exactly.
who don't know.
The other critical thing was our president's wife liked it, and that was probably the most important reason we kept him around.
He has good taste, correct?
Yeah,
he also had the job, Ted.
So about 16 or 18 years later, I guess we're still using the thing.
Yeah, well, I apologize for the chair. This is a low-budget program. But I want to hear all about Ted Ward.
I just got shorter.
You have done so much, but, I did a big research on you when I was trying to get the ad club to recognize all your talents, and they said sorry. And I tried, though. But, Ted, why do you end up in Washington, D.C.? You were born in New Jersey.
Yeah, I actually spent 18 years in Jersey. I was born in Pennsylvania, actually.
Oh.
But so I was a northerner. I went to school at the University of Virginia and liked the area. And as soon as I graduated...
Charlottesville is not a bad place.
It's not at all. And liked the area. And a lot of folks that I went to school with were from D.C. And I sort of migrated up there after I graduated, made a temporary stop at William & Mary to get a grad degree.
Yeah, I saw that in your, I was going to say your obituary. I saw that in your...
Thanks for helping me with that one.
I don't know where, but William & Mary is a lateral move from the University of Virginia, of course, right down 64, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was even lateral because that's where I met my ex-wife. So. Might have been a slight step down. But
that happens.
I did like Virginia. I still live in Virginia. I live in Falls Church.
Yeah.
Been same house for about 30 years. Same company for 32. I guess I'm a creature of habit.
Well, one of the secrets of what you are and what you do, I appreciate because, believe it or not, That's Janice and I. Janice worked here for 32 years. I worked for 36. And it's continuity, and that is a big payoff in your company.
Yeah, we have a couple of people that have been around for...
Hey, Bill has been with you 30-some years, right? Brower.
Bill Brower started 2 months after I did. The guy I report to, our president, Bill Roberts, started the same day Bill Brower did, April 1st. That makes them fools, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that right? Oh, my
that's,
God.
by the way, the same day that my mother-in-law was born, and I'm not sure what that means. So she was born 92 years ago.
Yeah, and you don't forget any of those things. You better not. Joanne won't let you. But seriously, Ted, the continuity has been a big payoff for GEICO with Gecko.
Yeah, our chairman, Tony Nicely, has been there 55, I believe. Warren Buffett, our owner, has been, owned the company for some piece of it for almost as long. He actually got involved with the company 65 years. I know all these because every year we have to have an annual moment that we recognize the anniversaries.
For the owner.
Yeah.
But does Tony have a full-time, he's chairman of the board, but does he spend time at the office?
Yep.
He's overlooking everything?
He's there almost every day, and he started, as a underwriting clerk, if I remember correctly, when he was about 18. So you do the arithmetic. I believe he's in his mid-70s and still works, almost every day.
Krieger must have owned it back then. When
Krieger was involved. That was before my time.
David Lloyd
Thank goodness,
Krieger.
yeah. Thank goodness that
he was a
before
well-known
mine.
guy around our town. I mean, he built GEICO right here in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
And that's the secret of success is you've stayed here. And your campus is fabulous, but that's another story. GEICO's such a big part of our town.
Yeah, we're a institution. If you go into our building, you can see that we are always mindful of our expenses.
Oh, I can see.
And I believe the building opened at 59 or thereabouts, and we have a bunch of acreage. I believe over time we've gone back and forth with Montgomery County on redeveloping it, and I hope they don't change because I got a good parking spot and I know how to get to the office.
And you know how to get home too.
Yeah, home is even more
Well, Ted,
important.
I know the story of because this is our studios here at WMAL. I still say our and GEICO. We were so close together. There was a lot of commonality of friendships and seeing people at restaurants and bars and so forth. We knew the people that ran your company, and your people knew us. And it was important to us to be stable and to watch what you have done and what GEICO has done. The stability inside, but it shows on the outside. Your campaigns have a theme. They're light. You don't beat anybody over the head.
It only takes about 15 minutes,
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, just 15 minutes will save you 15% or more.
That's
been around 22 years. That's one of the reasons we hired the Martin Agency was
consistent.
During their advertising pitch, they're pitching our account. They came up with a couple of concepts, and that was one of them. And I think we hired them in May, and we were on the air and television in June with that basic concept. We've stuck with it ever since. And we've had a few other things like Caveman and
my God!
And
The
a couple other
campaigns
crazy
have been one after the other
pigs
after the other. But after you then left William and Mary, you came into the district. Didn't you come to work for someone here?
I did. I had a brief stop up in Baltimore. I worked for IBM as a salesperson.
Did they make you wear the hat?
No, I did have the blue suit and the white shirts and the blue tie.
There used to be a hat too.
Yeah, no hats then, but it was white shirts and either red tie or blue tie.
Oh, I know it well.
But I wanted to get in advertising, and that was one of my interests. And I started working at Abramson Ehrlich. At the time it was
Abramson Himmelfarb?
Abramson Himmelfarb. Marvin, who just passed away within the last couple of months. Yeah.
Marvin was a genius, right?
He was. I worked closely with him, too. Marvin,
creative.
He was the king of radio creative. He was really just outstanding. Worked with a bunch of accounts around town. American Service Center and Morty Zetlin being one of them.
Oh, God.
And survived to talk about it.
Hey, all the good stuff. Well, one of the stories is absolutely true. Marvin Himmelfarb and David Abramson bought a show on WML radio. I think they ran it for several years. They just did the commercial on the night before the New Year's Day. New Year's Eve on WMAL with Abramson Himmelfarb. People don't remember that. I remember. They paid for it, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't free.
Yeah.
But he wrote the and he was so funny. I remember when one of his lines was, it's not chicken feathers or chicken stuff. He did it. But
he had more crazy. My favorite commercial that I ever did, and Morty Zetlin might remember, it had singing cats in it. So you can only imagine how that went. And it sold a lot of Mercedes-Benz for some reason. I don't remember.
Did you ever work for Alvin Ehrlich?
I never worked for him, but he did work for us. We hired Alvin.
Geico?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was our agency for military and federal business when we had a separate set of campaigns that went after them. And so when I went to work at Geico, they were already an agency of record for that portion of our business. And then later in life, they merged. The two entities merged. That was Abramson, Ehrlich Maines.
Oh my God. Yeah. She moved to Florida. I don't know how Nella's doing, but they will. Well, you know all the names of these people that were so big in our town. They're all gone now. Yeah. Frankly, except for you and maybe Howard Baumstein and a couple others, everybody's moved way out of the burbs or to another city.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's sort of this is not a great home for large ad agencies. I think about the largest agency it ever got was Earl Palmer Brown, I guess, at one time was.
Right.
And they were our agency just prior to the Martin agency.
Oh.
And let's see, we had, if you remember the name, Mark Goldstein. Very well. He was their chief creative officer. And when he left, we decided to move on, too.
Well, I want to remind you, Ted, even though your office is in Montgomery County, it's still our town.
Yes, it is.
Vienna, Virginia, Upper Marlboro, even parts of Anne Arundel County, it's our town. And we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back with Ted Ward and our town, Andy Ockershausen.
This is Sonny Jorgensen. Got a confession to make. I let my wife drag me to one of those Mike Collins estate planning seminars. Like I don't have enough on my plate with a certain football team. Actually, it wasn't too bad. In fact, we both learned a whole lot about how to protect our kids and grandkids down the road and to take care of ourselves right now. So if you get one of Mike's invitations in the mail, go. I'm glad I did. Get all the information and register online at MikeCollins.com. That's MikeCollins.com.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
It's Andy Ockershausen. I'm talking with Ted Ward, the genius behind the Geico world. And I can say that because I've looked at it from the outside and I've been part of it on the inside. And we love Geico, and our town loves Geico. You guys are so important to this city and to the community, and I'd love to hear stories about your prior career because you had agency experience before Geico.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we talked a little bit about Abramson, but I also worked at Cal American Sailing.
Oh, boy.
And that was
Mort
Sailing, and Harry Merrick Jr. Senior was still alive when I first started working there.
Oh my God!
And they were an institution. We handled Riggs National Bank at the time when there was a Riggs National Bank.
Oh, you remember the early
the most important bank in the most important city in the world.
Oh, they did it, and that was probably true.
Yeah.
The guy that was president of the Riggs Bank absolutely was the
Vince
unofficial
Burke.
Mayor.
Vince
he ran
Burke.
the city. That's Jennings, I think his name was.
Well, there was Vince Burke, Dan Callahan.
Oh, yeah, they were later. Callahan then eventually went to American Security.
Exactly, and they were a client as well, if you could believe it.
You had all
and
the
we
good
had
stuff.
Perpetual American Savings and Loan back when there were savings and loans.
Perpetual was a powerhouse place.
Yeah.
I knew that. And a great building. You know, they torn that building down and rebuilt something on that corner, Ted. Every time I go downtown, the buildings are going, there's a new one there. Now, tell me about Earl Palmer Brown. That's a name that was important in our town.
Yeah, I got to say, they did a lot of really good work for us very early on. Probably my first 8 or 9 years at Geico, they did some really superb work. And they, I think it was sort of their heyday. Remember Bob's Big Boy?
Oh my God!
They did the Bring Back Bob campaign.
They were the agency for Bob. Absolutely.
They handled U.S. Air right before all the airlines went down the tubes.
They had the name change. Remember?
Yeah.
The name they changed, and it ended up U.S. Air. Started out as something else, Piedmont or something.
Piedmont Airlines. They merged with them. Yeah.
And then started U.S. Airway. Then it became U.S. Air. And I had a great time with Earl himself. At one time, he handled 2 candidates in an election, running for the same office. Now, how he ever got away with that? He also was president of the racetrack. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Rosecroft Raceways. Yeah.
He had a client that didn't pay him, so they gave him, instead of paying him, they made him president of Rosecroft. Well, Miller Furniture.
No, you're bringing back all sorts of memories.
Okay, it was good memories.
I didn't work on the account, but when I was at Abramson Himmelfarb, David Abramson worked on the very first Marion Barry election campaign. It was
for mayor,
and the campaign won all sorts of awards, taking the boards off, and it was all about getting 14th Street back in shape, and then Marion won that first campaign.
He sure did. It surprised everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe David too, as I recall. But they were great names, David Abramson in the agency business and downtown. But like I say, except for a couple of names like Carrie Hatch, there's no more downtown agency business.
No, you're right.
All moved. Some of them moved to Richmond.
Yeah, we've been down in Richmond for 20-some years. I mentioned they're good. That's a good town to do
people
business.
used to say to me, "Why in the world they have an agency in Richmond?" But Richmond's turned around a lot now. It's become a very popular destination.
And you can get there from Washington,
but don't use 95. You never get there today, and you'll never get home using 95.
Now, there's a lot of history down in that area as well.
Well, I lived through all the stuff that Geico has done. I love every bit of it. I think, except for the Gecko, my favorite is the Caveman.
Yeah, they've been around. They've been around for 50,000 years, and we just had to bring them back. We started that whole campaign to feature how easy it was to do business with Geico.com. Back when the internet was brand new,
right? New, and nobody knew what it was.
And it's not that long ago. It's like 20 years ago, and we've sort of used them ever since. They're
It was a great reason for them.
They're polarizing. Some people love them, some people hate them, but the good news is they all listen to them.
And it works.
Yes,
something works. My favorite, I think, was the first one I saw where the guy walked by the sign and did the double take with no explanation.
Never said a word.
That was fabulous.
Just me. He was actually riding on the People Mover in LAX. That's when we shot them. So easy a caveman could
It was almost like a Jack Benny joke. It was silence.
Yep.
And silence is golden sometimes.
In some of our best ads, almost no words are spoken. And that's
true.
Some of the people I know wish I could get them to do the same thing, not speak at all.
That ain't going to happen. But what other campaigns now? You've done so much for underprivileged people. Now what happened to your boat? I didn't see the boat campaign. We sort of participated in that shot.
Yeah, we have
boating.
Well, you ended up on the cutting room floor. I can't remember why. Your boat was too pretty for the commercial.
My wife is too pretty.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But Ted, why is it that you jumped? Is this a move into the boating business?
Yeah,
has it always been?
We actually. About 3 years ago, I think it's 3 years ago, Warren Buffett bought Boat US, and we've since merged that into our company. We now run Boat US as well, so boats are becoming much more important. Homeowners
not only
is more
with the
important.
advertising, we run them as a
actually
business.
Run them as a business,
a profit center
down in Alexandria. It's a
how about that?
It's an interesting collection of entities.
Well, he merged that with the railroad. He owns Burlington Northern, doesn't he?
Yeah, I hope we don't have to advertise railroads.
You have to make a trip on some railroads.
Yeah, one of the beauties of being owned by Berkshire Hathaway is Mr. Buffett doesn't really tell you what to do. He just says, "You're doing okay. Keep it moving."
I consider him a very enlightened investor.
I'd say,
and a manager and a businessman because he hires good people and lets them go. And it's all of his companies say the same thing.
And not one bit of management changed, really, when he took us over in 96.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, January of 96. I think I got that right.
That's when Rosalie left Janio.
That's right, Rosalie. She didn't make it. She was scared about the hurricane or something. Didn't come to the Bay to visit this year.
That's exactly right. She didn't come up. But the people at Geico are so special in our town. The times that you guys have done fundraisers, I remember I'll forget the guy, John Byrne, wasn't he one of your?
Yeah, Jack Byrne. John Jay, Jack
We used to
Murray.
go over to the MC. We
Yep.
had Hardin and Weaver go to MC the fundraiser for the community chest or whatever it was at the time. Yeah. But it was always Geico out in front with the fundraiser.
Our chairman just after Jack Byrne, Bill Snyder, was very involved in Boy Scouts, and we've still been involved in that for years. We're on a golf tournament for the last 33 years, if I'm not
fundraiser.
mistaken. Yeah,
and there's no better charity.
Yeah, it's a great one, and
they keep keeping the kids going. And Geico, to my being a native, and Geico is 5 years older than I am, or maybe I'm 5 years. No, Geico is 85 years old.
80 this year. 80, actually
I'm older
80
than
last
Geico.
month.
I always wondered.
Good news is you're younger than my mother-in-law.
And she's still alive and kicking, brother.
And you move around better than her, too.
She does pretty well, though. But, Ted, I'm serious now about the Geico imprint is much greater than the advertising and much greater than the fact that you're here. It's the fundraising and what you give back to the community.
And we're a much bigger company than a lot of people realize. We have almost 37,000 people across the country. We now have 12 different regional offices that we do business in, and it's been a wonderful success story. We used to be like a little bitty company, had about 2% of the market. Now we're bigger than Allstate, for example.
Government employees insurance company.
For years, I tried to get that out of people's minds.
But
so
natives, that's what we grew up with.
I know.
That name from
And when I
day
first
one.
went to work at Geico, the challenge was
Always.
how to let people know it wasn't just for government employees.
I remember when they built a building. Geico's building a new building. That was what it was at, what we talked about in the neighborhood. And then the Heck Company was right across the street. And
then it became, let's see, it was Woodward and Lothrop before
WNL,
it was Heck.
right.
Yeah.
And the Metro right underneath there.
And that was back when the Dancing Crab was still open.
And still live and lively. We missed the crab, but that's another story. Actually, the following you this afternoon, the guy that Tony Sybil and Joe Rinaldi did the crab. Tony's coming in to record a spot for his restaurant, Tony and Joe's, that we run on our town, putting them on the map. Ted, what is your plan now for the new campaign? Is it hush hush? You're always on the road doing something.
We have some campaigns out there that we'll probably do another round of. Like, it's what you do.
Have you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
You've got good characters now that can stand up.
Yeah, we have.
Bring them back.
Over the years, we've done everything from Little Richard asking you about mashed potatoes, gravy, and cranberry sauce, to
it's a company with a sense of humor.
Yeah, my least favorite of the bunch was the little pig.
I know.
That was, I just found him to be annoying, but it worked like gangbusters. So it just proves you don't have to like the advertising you create. It just has to
I couldn't remember
work.
the little pig till Janice reminded me the one on the roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget that. We're going to take a break now from Ted Waters. This is Andy Ockershausen. You're listening to Our Town.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell everybody about our newest restaurant over off New York Avenue. It's called Ivy City Smokehouse, 1356 Oakey Street Northeast, right next to the Heck Company warehouse. It is terrific, and we have the only seafood smoker in the District of Columbia. So when you go to your grocery stores or your delis, ask for Ivy City products. 202-529-3300 or ivycitysmokehouse.com.
Our Town with Andy Ockershausen.
I'm talking to Ted Ward about his family and where they came from. That he was born in Pennsylvania, but he's from New Jersey, and I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, I'm the third, and you've nicknamed my son Ivy the fourth,
right?
And
he is the fourth.
Yeah, he is, and he works downtown, lives in Columbia Heights.
He's Edward the Fourth.
Yes, he is, and he thinks he's
Whatever
King Edward.
That's
Edward
for
the
sure.
Eighth.
They cut off his head.
That could be coming. You never know. They're definitely going to cut off his funds one of these days. I ended up. My grandfather's from Short Hills, New Jersey. Father was born there.
It's where the golfers at Short Hills.
Yeah,
right?
very close. Baltusrol. I grew up hopping the fence to
Did
play
you?
Baltusrol.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, the groundskeeper used to chase us all over the place.
And the PGA was up there for a while?
Yeah, just this last
right,
year
Short
they
Hill?
had the Open up there.
Wonderful territory. And then LBI was in your background, too,
Yeah,
wasn't
Long
it?
Beach Island. I spent a bunch of time down there. Was a lifeguard for 6 years.
Is that right,
Yeah.
LBI?
Yeah, yeah.
But you didn't go back? I mean, when you got...
No,
money? You kept it down here.
I
Thank
did.
God for
I
that.
kind of like Shadyside, even though you're my neighbor. I kind of like that area.
It's not a bad place, Dad.
That's great.
It's getting a lot better.
It reminds me now that you and I were almost related at one time.
That is correct.
And my wife's father was married to your older sister.
That is correct.
Several times, if I remember correctly.
Only twice. But they decided the first time was wrong, and the second time they knew it was wrong. But that happens in life, Dad.
It does.
But that's been happening in our town for years. People have been getting on and off of marriage, like several of the people you worked for in the agency business. And I'll never forget that Dave Abramson was getting married, and Bill Rigardi called me and said, he's marrying somebody that's half Jewish and half Puerto Rican. I said, he's marrying Geraldo Rivera. We're finding out about it.
There's so many old names that pop up when you start talking about.
You saw Rigardi the other night.
I did. You and I went to Fight Night a bunch of years back,
and
Rigardi was
right?
there. Danny Cornbull was there. Trying to think who else was at our table. It was quite the collection.
Henry, of course.
Yeah, Henry was there. That's right.
And he had his pal, the senator from South Carolina, who wasn't a senator, but he ran South Carolina. That was good enough for us. Fight Night was something special in our life, but that's gotten so big now.
Yeah, it's not any fun anymore for me. No. At least it's too big.
But. It's too big. I agree with you on that. But nothing is as big as Geico. I mean, now you've gone from a little local insurance company that did cars, as I remember. Yeah. Government employee. I thought you had to be a government employee at one time to belong. And now you're number 2 in the world.
Yeah.
U.S. insurance
We're chasing that company called State Farm. We'll catch them one of these years. I'm not sure I'll be there when we catch them.
But it's something to be said for being second, too.
Yeah, we're number 2. We try harder. I think I vaguely remember those campaigns.
Remember that?
From the old days.
There was also the fact is, I guarantee your bottom line is a lot better than theirs.
Well,
I would bet on.
Yeah, we do okay every now and then.
That's what's important to Warren, too. He don't want to be number 1. He wants to be number 1 profit maker.
$1 billion here, $1 billion there. It all adds up over time.
It only happens in America. So who is it locally? Did you develop the commercial for... Somebody said if you'd have known, you'd have saved $300 by calling. Yeah. I forget who it was.
Yeah.
I would really be mad.
We had our testimonial campaign. We used a bunch of different, I'll call them B or C list personalities. I mentioned Little Richard, but we had Joan Rivers. Peter Graves was in one of them.
Oh, that's a
Richard
big name.
Simmons. Burt Baccarat.
Who was the little guy?
Oh, Mini Me. We had Mini Me in one, if you could.
Can do it.
Oh, that's Tony Little. Tony Little and his gazelle. Yeah. You can do it.
Why can't you bring that back?
First of all, using dead personalities is always a no-no. They don't, you don't like to feature dead folks.
But they can't sue you.
And then most of them are members of the union, so they would sue us if we brought them back. And there's plenty of new ideas to go forward with. We hope that they're good.
I shouldn't be cackling, but this is funny stuff. I can't help it, Janet. The man's got a sense of humor, if nothing else. He needs one.
I do. You know my wife.
Very well. Remember, she was always almost my relative.
That's right.
In fact, she was for a short period of time, as you remember. But it was a contentious relationship. That's between me and Joanne, of course. But we've solved that by introducing Janice. She's taking care of it. Now, what is the plan for the future for Geico other than... You're going to continue with the commercials, continue with...
If I gave you the trade secrets, I'd have to kill you. But we have lots of stuff.
But your secret is so open, it's continuity. It shows
a lot of the same
way.
old, as they say.
The word's the same. Yep. The little gecko is the same. The British accent is a genius.
Yeah, he's actually. It's funny because that whole English accent thing. Who knew that would make sense with a talking animated lizard?
Well, you could, but it's perfect for the Brits. I love the lizard.
Yeah, it's and we're going to keep using. Like I said, the chairman's wife likes them, so we got to keep using them.
And you got to bring back the The caveman will never die.
Yeah,
He'll
they
live
like I
forever.
said, they've been around thousands of years. They're
That's
probably
right.
we still use them every now and then. In fact,
doesn't hurt anybody
we're
when you
shooting
say
a commercial
that, Ted.
next week that has a caveman involved.
Well, Geico and such a big important part of our town and our life and my life, and you certainly are, and everything in your company. They're wonderful people, and we hope they're around for a long time in our town. There's some talk about moving your campus.
Oh,
At Caveman?
I can't imagine. As long as our chairman's working there, he's not moving anywhere.
Right, that's right. And Warren doesn't care as long as he makes the bottom
that's
line.
correct.
Right?
And I certainly hope they don't move because my commute's under a half an hour.
And it's so convenient to everything,
It
Ted.
is.
And it's just wonderful. Well, this has been a very interesting conversation, Ted. I won't use it against you until I see your wife. But I do appreciate you and appreciate Geico, and I use the word continuity all the time. And it's strange for me to say this is where I started in the broadcast business 60 years ago, and here I'm back and doing it again because Janice.
You're going to get it
and with
right
you.
this time?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get retired someday.
That's been a blast.
But Ted has been great,
Yes.
and you're fabulous, and thank you, and please keep Geico up there. We need them.
Look forward to seeing you and Janice down at Shadyside.
We'll be there, baby. This is Our Town with Andy Ockershausen and Ted Ward.
You've been listening to Our Town Season 1 with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town podcast episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. We welcome your comments and suggestions on how you like the show or who you'd like to hear from next. Catch us on Facebook at Our Town DC or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcasts.